I think the shot is straight. I think that you can hear me. And the sad part is none of those things may be true, but I'm gonna try. The title of this video is The Problem with Millennials. I'm not saying that I hate millennials, even
though I do say all the time that I hate millennials and you guys are annoying.
but I just wanted to talk about the differences between Gen Z and millennials because we try to act like it's this big gap between us, but like we were around at the same time. Millennials, 90s kids love to say like, oh, you 2000s kids don't know about blah blah blah. We were alive. I was there. Like I was young, but I was alive and conscious from the ages of 8 to 10. I remember the feeling of the first generation of iPhones coming out. Phone that you can touch the screen and move things, and there's apps. So what is a millennial? A millennial is a person that was born between 1981 and 1996, which means right now they are from the ages of 28 years old to 43. Honestly, if we're going to talk about millennials, I think it's important for us to talk about Eminem. Ain't that crazy? What the hell does white man got to do with being a millennial? But he's like their king. He's their captain. I don't know what that's about. And it's cool, you know. Like, you know what I'm saying? Period. But like, so y'all saw that video of that white lady talking about Gen Z is so triggered by Eminem's new album. Meanwhile, nobody I know has heard that album.
Hey yo, fuck blind people. What? And deaf people suck. Stop. So do cripples. Dumb quadriplegic fucks.
I don't know anything about, like, the last time I heard Eminem was just gonna Eminem makes a big point of the line, "You gonna cancel me, huh? Gen Z me, bruh." It's actually ridiculous that Gen Z being equated with, hey, this bad thing is bad and we probably shouldn't do it. They say we doing too much. Okay, I guess. Whatever. Millennials have this thing where they love shock value. South Park, Family Guy, that line of humor, like they love being like, wait, it says slur, I'm not being PC. And again, do we care? Millennials talk about cancel culture in a very interesting way to me because they have the same access to social media that Gen Z has. Like they remember being in the height of the age of the internet coming up, you know, Y2K, but they remember what it's like to be conscious before the internet and remember when certain things weren't taboo to say, remember not having information at their fingertips. And while it's unfortunate that before they had to live their lives in ignorance, now that we have the technology to find out different stuff, I don't know why we're not using it. I don't want to, like, don't make me sound like I'm dick riding. I think we need to give more millennials credit for the influence, the 2000s, 90s influence that is happening in the 2020s, that happened in the 2010s. We have to give them claps up to millennials. Being introduced to the age of the internet as a teenager or a young adult versus growing up in the age of the internet as an actual child, it has a different flavor. A small indicator of your age that I noticed. Gen Z types lowercase when we're texting. Millennials, they type, you know, correctly. They like capitalize words that should be capitalized.
Don't call me delusional.
My brain made this. Gen Z likes to seem like perfect in a very relaxed, carefree way, but actually very calculated. Everything has to be perfect. And I think that's why like Gen Z and Gen Alpha, we're starting to see like kids not going through a preteen phase because we feel like puberty, I have to be like, I have to go from a little kid to a model. I think that millennials capitalize their words even in text messages. One, because they remember the only spaces where they would write being, you know, professional or educational spaces where you had to use proper capitalization. I think a lot of millennials pride themselves on being the last sane generation. These new kids are crazy. Like, we fell off after the millennial generation. I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. I feel you. These are the same people that are so excited to have learned cursive in school. Also, I'm a Gen Zer and I learned cursive in school. Gen Z gets a lot of credit for being like so outspoken, but the reality is that millennials were controversial for their time. Every new generation is, you know, crazy and wild and controversial to their predecessors. That's kind of the whole fucking point, nigga. We're different from the people that came before us.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context.
Millennials were making waves for their time, and Gen Z is making waves for ours. Those facts can exist at the same time. Gen Z's approach to mental health is the best that we've seen over time. That's a big divide that I feel in my personal life. It's already easy to be misunderstood when you're suffering from mental illness. And in the 2000s, again, I was alive. I remember being like 5 and hearing people be like, oh, I don't need to go to no shrink. I don't need to go to no crazy doctor. I remember that. I was around for that. But I felt the shift as I got older and I started experiencing more symptoms of mental illness and, you know, hanging around more people and doing research and whatever, and realizing, yes, I am disabled. Yes, I suffer from these conditions. But unlike the past, it doesn't mean that I don't get to have a life. And I think that's a big difference. And older generations talk about, oh, the young kids these days, and they use the word millennial. I'm not gonna say millennials is old as hell, but millennials is old as hell. I'm a fake adult. Like, if you're a millennial, you're like a real adult. I'm just gonna write it somewhere on the screen. I don't know how to say that word. The changes that you start to see at the age of 28, if we're going off of where millennials are right now, I think it's really interesting to see millennials walk the line of realizing that they're becoming real adults and that they don't have to keep up with club culture. They could say shit like, oh yeah, auntie tired. Auntie don't know what them words mean. Oh, I just had to, you know, get in my robe and drink wine and go to sleep, you know? Which, mind you, I'm 21 and auntie is tired and auntie likes to get in her robe and drink wine. The only difference between me and a millennial is that I don't use slurs for fun. Another thing that happens when you're 28, you start to be okay with being uncool. You're past high school age, you're past university, you're probably past graduate school, past internships. You know, you're at most, for most people, 28, 30, that's when they start to like have a real job and start getting real apartments, real houses, getting real together so you could get real married. Speaking of getting real married, the pressure starts to hit at 28. Marriage and babies. The average age that men are getting married right now is 30 years old, and the average age that women are getting married is 28. When it comes to millennials over 35, having a baby over the age of 35 is considered a geriatric pregnancy. This is your warning, like, hey, this door might be closing, if that's something that you want. More things that happen when you get to that age of 28 plus. You're feeling a lot of changes in your body, more gastrointestinal issues, develop allergies, lactose intolerance, can't handle drugs and alcohol as well as they used to in their early 20s. And that's just something that comes with being older, and that's not a bad thing. I want to be very clear. I found a very unlikely source. Hear me out. My source is UPS. Here are some actually positive things that I have to say. Millennials are more educated than the generations that came before them. 39% of millennials are getting a bachelor's degree or more versus the 15% of the silent generation. Not only are they going to school, they're getting more educated, they're getting educated quicker, and there are more women that are getting educated quicker. And that's millennials ate that, period. You ate that one thing. Actually, not just that one thing. You ate more things. Here we go. Millennials had more eligible voters. Go millennials. Y2K. Time to suck my own dick. The gap of how much money people who are more educated and people who are less educated is getting bigger. There's a bigger divide. You hear a lot of people say, A bachelor's degree ain't nothing. Everybody got a bachelor's degree. Come to Atlanta, don't have their shit together, and they got a bachelor's degree. Years ago, having any type of university education meant, okay, you were set up, you're gonna have a job. Nope, it's not like that. Now we have bachelors and we just twiddle our thumbs. Millennials are also more likely to live with their parents than other generations if they're not educated. Millennials also are getting married later in age than past generations. Let's talk about Gen Z. Gen Z is one of the most diverse group, like when it comes to cultural, gender identity, sexual, like everything. We kind of ate that. We kind of ate that just a little bit. Gen Z are actually study proven bread stackers, hustlers. Now, the Gen Z they were talking about in these studies that they did is not me. I just started becoming a hustler like 6 days ago. But the majority of my generation is getting to the bag. 62% of Gen Z said that they wanted to become entrepreneurs. We were born in the world of the internet. The first generation that has early childhood memories of using modern technology. We share information so frequently, efficiently. The crisis in Gaza, free Palestine. All my niggas say free Palestine. If not for social media, we would not have garnered so much support for this cause, or like people would not know about it. I probably wouldn't know about this. I don't live in the Middle East, so it's not a crisis that's in my backyard. There was a time before the internet where you just knew what you knew and that was it. If you wanted to go and find something out, you had to go find somebody that knew about this thing. You had to go find a book on this thing and get recommended more books and meet people. But like, now we can just go on YouTube and Google tutorial on how to blah, blah, blah. Because we're used to that convenience and they're not. They're like, I don't have to check the internet. I don't have to learn more. I'm not even just saying ignorance. They never had to question themselves before. 98% of Gen Z owns a smartphone. That's a high fucking number. We're all used to having one. Social media is our biggest tool when it comes to millennials and Gen Z. But what divides us there is the way that we're using the information. Our algorithms, we're the same, but we not the same. They not like us. For Gen Z, technology is such a normalized part of our life and has been for the majority of our conscious life. So it makes sense that we know how to multitask with it. I think millennials appreciate their access to information more than Gen Z does because, again, they remember a time of not being able to access information so easily. Now, do I wish some of them would show us how happy they are to have information at their fingertips and, not be ignorant and, anti-intellectualism is bad. Maybe you should learn more things. No? Okay. Even though we're very different, there are some things that Gen Z and millennials we absolutely agree on. One, we're in fucking debt. This country's going to shit. College costs so much fucking money, and the degree don't even fucking do nothing. The bachelor's ain't enough. The master's started not to be enough. So what I gotta do next? Cure cancer? We can agree on gun control, surprisingly. We're very adamant on that, period. Gun reform. All my girlies hate pew-pews. It could be said the most annoying thing about a millennial is that they look like Gen Z, but they talk like Gen X. You're wearing my clothes, but you talk to me like you're my mom. I'm very excited to see when Gen Z gets to the age that millennials are now. I wonder how we're gonna respond to like real adulthood, because now that we're young adults, already adulthood is the worst hood I ever been to. Feeling a lot of different pressures and stuff. Like, this is already too much and I'm not even doing a good job. I'm only like quarter of a way doing adultness and I don't like it. Being a real adult is gonna be so much whiplash, and we're gonna be so sympathetic to how millennials are now. And the only difference between them and us is instead of the millennial pause and Zoom, You know, Gen Z has our own things. I would like to add some random life updates into the end of this video just because the internet is my diary. Twitter is my oyster. TikTok's the pearl. I'm on my moving to Korea type shit. Let me know if y'all want to see some videos about my progress with that.